You're watching Eyewitness Newsmakers.
We return with our next question for the leadership of Los Angeles City Council. President Garcetti, let me talk to you first. LA Roadworks, a new name that we've been hearing lately. This is the mayor's plan to borrow against Measure R and get 1,500 miles of streets repaired, trim trees. It's a big program. I think overall it could be $1.5 billion plan. What's your opinion on this?
Well, you know, you've got a lot of people out of work. We've got terrible roads that for the first year since World War II won't go backwards, but they're rated a 63 out of 100. And we've got to make sure that we take our infrastructure seriously. So I'm working closely with the mayor to see, I don't know exactly how many miles, we have some details to work out, but it only costs us right now, if we were to take a bond out, 3.75% interest to be able to, in 2 years, do all of the paving that would take 27 years. So when I go to people and I say, would you like us to do it cheaper? Would you like us to do it sooner? Would you like us to do more miles? Or do you want us to wait 27 years, do fewer miles, it costs 10% more each year, which is more than the interest rates, for us to pave and do them in a longer period of time? Most people want to see those streets paved now and people put back to work.
I would like to pitch this over to Councilmember Perry first, though, because that's going to be about a $650 million debt if this money is borrowed in some respect. What's your opinion on this?
Well, I think it's a high-risk situation. I think we need to have comparative analysis as to what we can accomplish with where we stand now, with the amount of employees we have who are able to execute roads, tree trimming, sidewalk repair, and to see how far that gets us and what we can accomplish where we stand now versus what we accomplish if we borrow against this money and what we give up. And that's the unintended consequence that we need to disclose to the public before we make a decision like that.
I want to try to get Mr. Zine to weigh in on this as well.
It's a huge issue. It's been one of the major complaints. We need to address it. This is a solution to that particular problem that plagues many communities in Los Angeles.
So you'd be in favor of this idea if it pans out?
If it pans out, the question is it going to pan out?
And just briefly on that, the two numbers the public needs to know is 3.75%, that interest that you talked about, or 10%. It's 10% more each year. That's how much more expensive it is to pave the streets. So much more than $650 million, essentially in an added cost if we wait to do this over 27 years versus just a smaller amount if we do it now.
Let's just focus for again, too, on one of the issues that is more specific on this L.A. sidewalks, 11,000 miles of sidewalks. Some of them deplorable. It used to be, until 73, I believe, the individual homeowner was responsible for sidewalks. When there was money, the city took it over. People expect the city to repair these sidewalks and say that the city planted the trees that ruined the sidewalks.
Absolutely. Well, it still is technically the homeowner's responsibility. That never changed. But in 1972-73, the city began to pay for some of those repairs. I oppose, having this burden be put on the homeowners. That is not the solution to say you have to fix your own sidewalks. But clearly we have miles and miles and miles of sidewalk that need repair. That's some of the things that we can do by putting the money that we know in for Measure R, that will repair streets and the sidewalks connected to them. We can get people back to work and we can get our sidewalks and our streets repaired, our trees trimmed in the short term rather than waiting 3 decades.
There's been some discussion, though, about point of sale perhaps in the future when property transfers, that there be an assessment in that transfer.
To make that sidewalk repair. But the question is, when the federal government gave us money, we used that money, took the responsibility away from the homeowners. The city took it, and then the money ran out. Now it's your problem to get homeowners. I'm not supportive of that. It's our responsibility. We need to maintain it, but not put on the burden in the backs of the homeowners who sell their property or do some improvement.
We have to get very quickly, because the Risk Management Task Force is an issue that is going to be coming up before, I believe, our public very, very soon.
Yes.
After paying out some $38 million in internal harassment and discrimination suits over the last 3 years, there's some question of what do we do? What do we do with this with the police department? What do we do? What is a risk management?
Police and fire are the huge issues. And in the last 5 years, $90 million. Internal, where people don't get along, not officers involved in shootings or car crashes, internal conflicts. And the FLSA, the Federal Labor Standards Act, we need to have a risk manager within the police department and the fire department, because that's where the bulk of those claims generate. We need to address that from the top down, from the chief of police, the chief of the fire department down. These are the rules. The procedures, follow them. If people don't get along, have an ombudsman or something else instead of these ridiculous claims that cost the taxpayers millions upon millions of dollars.
You can avert a lot of liability through education and outreach. We do that now in requirements to go online and do our sexual harassment training, our ethics training, and obviously these departments require far more attention to those kinds of issues because they continue to occur over and over again, so that we can nip things in the bud on the front end rather than having to pay triple for it on the back end.
some of this is unavoidable, though.
Some of it is, but $95 million, if we even took a portion of that and put that back into libraries and fire stations and to pave our streets, that's where taxpayer money should go, not because we have people sexually harassing or racially harassing or not having accountability as leaders. We need to hold our managers accountable. Council President
Garcetti, Council Members Perry, Zine, I want to wish you all a happy holiday, New Year. But you're in office for another year, all of you, so perhaps...
Well, we hope to be back.
We'll see you back on this program, I hope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
All for being here.